of Playbill 2.0. I hope you enjoyed Hamlet last time. This time we're getting into musicals. For those of you who paid attention after the credits, there was a quote, and it went something like this.
He was right. There is a lot more to me than me. Stop the world! I want to get on!
And if you guessed correctly, the play I'm talking about today is The Producers. Now, unlike most plays, which are plays and then become movies, The Producers was actually originally a movie in 1968 before it was turned into a musical in 2001, and then turned into a movie again in 2005. Anyway, apparently the original movie was a lot darker and, well, not a lot darker, there was still a happy ending, but it was darker, and there were a lot of differences, such as Leo Bloom, I was about to say Max, but not him. Leo Bloom was actually more of a weenie than he is in the musical / new version of the film. Ulla Hansen Swanson, something or other, I can't remember how her full name goes, was a very small part, where if you've seen the movie or the show, you know that she has a massive part, where she basically represents sex. Also, Mr. Lincoln, who writes the musical Springtime for Hitler in The Producers, the musical in the musical, he apparently had a much smaller role and much scarier role, but now he's, in the new version, he's this crazy, much more loved character, even though he's a Nazi, which is bad. You should never love Nazis. And so yeah, there are a lot of differences. This is also one of few musicals that was originally produced on Broadway and then was moved to the West End, which usually it's the other way around, because as cool as Broadway is, London is the theater capital of the world. It won approximately a dozen Tonys, which is, I believe, a world record, or it was at the time. It also won a dozen Drama Desk Awards. So that's a lot of awards for a musical. The humor in the show is very everywhere and interesting. There's all kinds of sexual innuendos.
And you got it. Blanked it.
And then also all these jokes about theater, caricatures of Nazis and Germans in general.
Haben Sie gehört, das deutsche Band? Mit der Bang, mit der Boom, mit der Bing Bang, Bing Bang Boom.
Caricatures of gay men who are the supposed only men involved in theater.
Gay. Keep it gay, keep it gay.
For those of you that are really into theater, a lot of jokes just about the industry, which if you watch the show, you know that at some level, everything that happens in that movie / show is true. Anyway, the two guys who played the leads in the original 2001 musical also were able to be in the movie. That would be Nathan Lane, who you may know as the voice of Timon, which is what I knew him as before I saw this movie / show. And then you also have Matthew Broderick, who plays a nerd in every single movie that I've ever seen him in / show. So that doesn't change at all in The Producers, except in The Producers he's a nerd but awesome, which usually not so much. Unfortunately, the Caddy Hoffman, who played Ulla in the original musical, didn't make it to the movie, but was replaced by Uma Thurman, but that wasn't that big a deal because Uma Thurman is still very talented and did a very good job belting and being sexy, which is kind of all Ulla does the whole time. So the plot, very important aspect of any musical or regular show. Basically, it begins with Max Bialystock, and he has just opened, he's a producer, and he has just opened this new play called Funny Boy, and it closes opening night, and he's very depressed.
I used to be the king of all Broadway. It's good to be the king.
The next day, an accountant, a quote-unquote mousy accountant named Leo Bloom, comes to check his books, and while he's doing this, he drops a line about how it's possible for a producer, if he wanted to make more money with a flop than with a hit. Then Max, who's kind of down and out on his luck, decides that he wants to take on Bloom as his partner and that they should pull off this scheme of making a flop and earning all this money from it, which would be illegal. That's the way they want to do it.
It's so simple. Step 1, we find the worst play ever written. Step 2, we hire the worst director in town. Step 3, I raise $2 million.
2?
Yes, one for me, one for you. There's a lot of little old ladies out there. Step 4, we hire the worst actors in New York and open up Broadway. And before you can say step 5, we close on Broadway. Take our $2 million and go to Rio.
So, Leo Bloom is a weenie and doesn't want to do it.
I can't do it.
And then goes back to his job and is really bored, and then realizes that he does want to do it because he's always wanted to be a producer, and it's been his dream for like his entire life. So they decide to do this, and they start looking for a terrible script, terrible actors, terrible director, terrible everything. And along the way, they have met this girl named Ula who auditioned for the show and wants to be in it. So they put her in basically because she's hot.
And you got it. Flunked it.
It's implied that she can kind of sing and isn't super talented, but if you watch the show, she has to be a good singer because it's a musical. So Ula's in this show, and over the course of the production, Leo falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him. And then, so opening night comes around, and it looks like everything's about to go wrong, but the show somehow ends up going on, and it's supposed to be this terrible, beyond farce, shocking, outrageous, insulting show called Springtime for Hitler, and it's supposed to totally flop. Then Leo and Max see all these reviews about how great it is, and how it's this wonderful spoof farce thing, and it was totally overdone, blah blah blah, so it's great. You know how like when something's so bad it's good kind of a deal? And so they're freaking out because they're going to go to jail. And then somehow it ends up that Max gets arrested, but Leo doesn't. So Max is in jail, Leo's in Rio. How does it end? I won't tell you because that would ruin the show, and I already ruined Hamlet. But you should have seen that anyway because it's awesome.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do it, me and you. We can do it. We can do it. We can make our dreams come true.
Alright viewers, thanks again for watching another episode of Playbill 2.0. As with last week, here's a quote to see if you can guess what next week's show is going to be about. Many a man before you in his dreams had shared his mother's bed.